Hi, everyone. I've been tasked with telling you all a little bit about French artist Raymond Duchamp-Villon. Duchamp-Villon was born as Pierre Maurice Raymond Duchamp in 1876 in Normandy. He was one of seven siblings born to Eugene and Lucie Duchamp. Their family had some artistic heritage, and three of his siblings would go on to be artists as well. So that means four out of the seven siblings were artists. There was a whole lot of art going on in that family. Having grown up in an artistic household, Duchamp-Villon was always interested in art, specifically sculpture, but never had much interest in it as a career. In 1894, Duchamp-Villon and his brother Jacques Villon moved to a suburb of Paris to go to school together, Raymond as a doctor and Jacques as a lawyer. Their other brother, Marcel Duchamp, would join them in that suburb later, called Puteaux. For the majority of the story, I'll be referring to the family by their first names rather than their customary surnames because they're all siblings and that gets confusing really quickly. Jacques quickly decided that his career in law was not for him, and he switched to pursuing art. Puteaux was another favorite spot of artists similar to neighborhoods surrounding places like the Moulin Rouge, so this was likely a factor in that decision. Anyways, Raymond kept to his studies until he ironically got rheumatic fever in 1898, causing him to give up his pursuit of medicine. His passion for his hobby, sculpting, became his desire for his future. He continued working on his art and eventually showed his works in the Salon at the Art Academy in 1902. Much of his early work was very traditional, so he was well received at this salon. However, he became interested in the modernist ideas of art and exhibited his works in the Salon des Atomes for the first time in 1905. His house became a hub for many of the up-and-coming artists of the era, and Raymond, Jacques, and Marcel became known for their love of modern art and specifically Cubism. So in 1910, Raymond would create a sculpture titled Torso of a Young Man, which even on first glance is reminiscent of Rodin's Walking Man. You can see Duchamp-Villon adapting Rodin's idea that the formal elements of sculpture are more important than the content. As you can see, the body is extremely geometric, with the primary shape being the large triangle of the main part of the torso. Notably, though, it's still relatively naturalistic, especially in comparison to some of his later works. Around this time, Duchamp-Villon kept working and developing his style. Of course, as you know, in 1914, the First World War broke out, and Duchamp-Villon served in the French military. Since he had almost graduated medical school, he served in a nursing position, but the experience in the military would go on to inform his masterpiece. He was allowed to go back and forth between the war and his studio. So here is Duchamp-Villon's masterpiece. Originally, it was titled The Great Horse, but it shed the word great and is now simply known as Horse or The Horse. It was completed in 1914 and after some time on the front lines. It was actually intended to be a naturalistic statue when he started, which is surprising considering how it looks now. Duchamp-Villon was heavily influenced by what he saw in the war, the classical strength of horses mixed with the modern strength of heavy warfare machinery. Duchamp-Villon's mixture of the natural world with the synthetic developments of modern world was a key factor of the modernist movement leading into Cubism. There's a unique sense of pride in the technology of the future in this piece, which is somewhat uncommon in the world of modernism, which is typically a relatively angsty period for art. Anyways, Raymond Duchamp's time in the war would eventually take its toll. In 1916, he caught typhoid fever and staved it off for a little, but he died in a military hospital in 1918. And then here are your questions for today. Thank you.